Welcome back. We thank you for staying with us. It is 34 minutes past the hour, and as just I had informed you just before the commercial break, we are today analyzing Kenya-US ties, and joining me for this conversation are two gentlemen. Barnabas Boyd, he is right here in studio. He is a political strategist as well as an advisor. Welcome, Boyd, to the program.
Good evening, viewers.
Good evening. And also joining us virtually is Felix Okach, EBS. He is a multilateral trade expert. Karibu sana, Felix, and welcome to the program.
Good evening, and thank you very much for welcoming me.
Brilliant. I'll begin with you, Boyd. There had been some, so much hue and cry regarding the address to Congress by President William Ruto, and we saw the outcome of it. That request was rejected, if we could call it that way. What was on your mind when you saw especially that? Because there was quite some celebration when the president was that request was made to be able to address Congress.
First, good evening, viewers. I would want to say that our president has been invited to the U.S. as on a state visit, and that is the highest honor bestowed upon Kenya by the U.S. administration.
Yes.
The request by the administration, the Democratic administration, to have His Excellency the President address Congress was a step in the right direction. But you see, America is a highly polarized society. We currently have a Republican-controlled House, and they would want to muzzle or curtail any progress by the Democrats on and especially on the appeal to the Black American voters. And I think by the Biden administration recognizing our president and his role is very, very, very important, we may not interfere with the internal, mechanisms of their own, like in the U.S. We don't want to get involved in their own internal issues, but we would have loved to see our president address Congress.
Brilliant. And so, a lot has, before you cross over even to Felix, a lot has been anticipated in this state visit. When you look at the outlook, the 60th anniversary of the ties between the two countries, what does this mean, especially in a nutshell, and what does it portend for Kenya?
As I said, a state visit is the highest honor bestowed to our country by the U.S. administration.
Yes.
And it signifies the relationship that we have as a country. It signifies the importance of Kenya as a player in global politics. And it also signifies the importance of the current administration in pursuit of excellence, in pursuit of international cooperation. Yeah.
Brilliant. Let me bring in Felix Okach, because one of the things that we are expecting to see is the finalization of STIP, that is the Kenya-United States Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership. There is a lot in terms of trade and investment that we shall see between the two countries. Felix, what are some of the benefits, if you could call it, when we look at this state visit by President William Ruto to the United States in terms of trade between the two nations?
Thank you very much for your question, and also thank Mr. Boyd what he has said.
Yes.
But normally, when you're talking on matters of trade,
yes,
business, you're talking statistics and money. What are we getting out of relationship with the U.S.? Admittedly, there's trade between the two countries. Like statistically, the trade between the U.S. and Kenya is about worth 9 billion shillings.
Yes.
Of course, sorry, 9 billion shillings. And much of trade with the U.S. has been on two terms, two trading platforms. One, there's bilateral arrangement, trade and negotiations which have been signed over time. And then two, there's the AGOA. Because the US, when they look at Kenya, they look at Africa in total, because to them, Africa is one, and it's a big economy. So for us, we need to see that what trade negotiations or trade agreements are we going to sign for the benefit of our country, in which case this will increase our exports to that market. In Kenya, our traditional exports, of course, are horticulture, coffee, tea, and apparel. Apparel is the best thing we can get out of it, because these are the clothes from EPZ, the export process zone EPZA, which US takes a lot. And we've not exported enough. We should have an arrangement where we produce more, employ more people, create more jobs, American come and assist us in this arrangement, so that we create employment and our economy improves out of trade.
The U.S. goods exports to Kenya in 2022 were $604 million. That was up by 8.1% from 2021. And the U.S. goods imports from Kenya totaled $875 million in 2022. These are huge numbers that we're talking about. Kenya has been considered the gateway to East Africa and the rest of the continent. Looking at the strategic positioning, especially of Kenya, do you think that you're in a position 60 years later to be able to advance and increase these opportunities, especially for Kenyans?
The relationship with the US, then they're looking at us as a strategic place for them in this certain area, this part of the world. But in that relationship, let us look at trade. You see the figures you've just mentioned?
Yes.
It shows that there's a great difference, the deficit of trade. So the visit by the president, Dr. William Ruto, should put emphasis that US, how much of our coffee, how much of our horticulture we must take directly? How many of your people must come to visit our country in terms of tourism so that we gain? That's where when trade becomes beneficial in a bilateral arrangement, not just visiting us.
Absolutely. And then looking at for instance, some of the things that perhaps the president will be looking at, Vivo, which is Kenyan owned, will be opened up in the US. Do you see this as perhaps a proper gateway to have proper Kenyan products explored or sold completely in the United States? Is this a step, in the right direction, in terms of seeing that it will encourage more and more of such initiatives and companies?
Thank you very much for that question. We should look at it in terms of policy dynamics.
Okay.
What have we put in place so that more of them would come to our market and also us do business with them? Today in the BBC,
yes,
I heard that the President Biden has put 100% tariff on electric-made cars from China. He said when they come, you have to protect the market, 100% tariff. In our case, we also need to see what they can bring and what they cannot bring. But unless we go to a trade negotiation with what you have and what you want to get, you too much. For example, talk in agriculture. We did more from the fertilizer, machinery, technology. Those are the inputs we want from them. If you've been to US, places like Texas, going down, they've got much big farms. Now, that kind of technology, if it is brought here to assist us, we would move. In fact, if you go to US, most of those people, they're concerned about the issues. To them, Africa is nothing. They look at you, they say, the black nigger down the street there. Sometimes I wonder why we go there. But this kind of visit by the president, we should have a technical team which looks at specific issues required, policy directions required, so that when you come back home, we reduce that trade deficit. That statistic, that trade deficit you mentioned, it's important to look at it specifically, because most Americans talk on data, talk on statistics. If you are just talking, they'll just say, okay, entertain you and go away. So this visit should focus on what we want to achieve from that country. Trade deficit is reduced, more of the people have come to visit us, more industries can come, and when they come, they have to partner with the locals, so that locals also benefit out of the visit.
Absolutely. And then also, top on the agenda, especially for this visit, will be to also expand, for both countries, because every, relationship is all about interest, especially when you're looking at diplomatic ties. In terms of even the expansion or the ability of Kenyan traders to be able to explore the United States, when you look at some of the requirements that are in place, especially for Kenyan citizens, the permits that are required compared to the U.S. counterparts, especially on Kenya, what needs to be done to ensure that it is mutually beneficial?
The 50 states in U.S., when they're approaching you outside, you think they're one. But it has been seen under the AGOA arrangement, when you go to them individually,
yes,
Arizona will have some rules, Texas will have rules, Washington will have some rules, Chicago. It's not smooth sailing. But you need to have a policy which makes sure we are going to gain out of that. For example, take Starbucks, leading coffee world, isn't it? So why can't Starbucks come and set business in Kenya so that we make coffee from Kenya, and from Kenya export coffee to the rest of the world? And that creates employment. Those are the things we need to look at.
Brilliant. We'll be coming to you in just a short while, Felix, but let's come back to studio to pick your mind, Boyd, because this state visit is coming at the backdrop of that debate on the deployment of police to Haiti. Of course, it has been a discussion that has been there ongoing for a while. What do you think, and what do you especially foresee, especially for this deployment of the police to Haiti?
Good evening. I have held before, and I've said that Kenya is a community among nations, and they have an obligation towards Haiti, and Kenya will be a troop or will be having forces alongside other nations, and this is something that we should look deeply, because supposing Kenya was in that situation of Haiti, Kenya would actually demand that they be given the international support that Haiti is benefiting from. So as part of, and it is backed by a UN resolution that countries should support Haiti to restore law and order. So it's not that Kenya is going on its own. But looking at the bigger picture of the visit and the core principle of international relationship, where there is respect for the sovereignty of other countries, mutual cooperation between member states, and non-interference of internal affairs. It's a huge score for Kenya to be hosted by US, and I think it's a recognition that Kenya is an important player in the affairs of Africa. And with the new administration coming into place, the push for, the efforts that has been led by His Excellency the President in respect to climate change, and having the international community take action in respect to, the effects of climate change. And he comes out as a strong leader in Africa, and US would want to further its dominance of Africa and its relationship with Africa, and having good relationship with our president and this current administration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think then that, in the looking at former presidents, we did see Mwai Kibaki channel, or rather turn towards facing east. There was a different perspective looking at retired President Uhuru Kenyatta. The model of President William Ruto, in terms of looking at, there has been of course tours to the east, and then now he's going to the west. In terms of the balancing tactic, as how the president is implementing it and looking at all partners, it doesn't see, it is also a different perspective or analogy on its own. What do you make of that?
Look, I think we had lost our space as a geopolitical player.
Yes.
And Kenya must advance its interest in all the major players in the world. If we are benefiting from US by having markets like ACOA and having a trade agreement, why not? If we are benefiting from China for infrastructure development, why not? You know, we should not limit ourselves to either East or West, but we should put our best foot forward on what is good for Kenya. I would expect that out of this visit, there would be some benefit to and more markets to our produce and exchange of technology between Kenya and the US. I would expect that we would have more tourists and more engagement between the two countries, and which is very vital to the growth of our economy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming to you, Felix, the statement that came from the White House is that, you know, of course, Kenya will be, this state visit will be celebrating a partnership and to expand the economic ties. And it's a forte, or rather it's an area that, of course, is your forte. And when you look at the implementation, say, of the AGOA, of other treaties and other agreements, what would where do you think we are, or where have we come from 60 years ago, where we are on this 60th anniversary, and looking forward? Do you think the progress has been to a liking or to a mutually beneficial one, especially, of course, with more interests to the Kenyan nation?
I want to comment on that, and then on the issue also the Haiti one.
Yes.
You know, any country, Kenya is a civilized society. A country with a constitution, just like Americans have their constitution.
Yes.
We have certain problems, just as they also have some problems. Our major problem now, today,
Yes.
is making sure that our graduates get jobs. And we can create jobs for them. The way the forefathers of this country, Kenyatta, Boya, Oginga Ngalo, when they fought, they made sure they sent the white men away, it was they came together and succeeded. Equally now, this is the time for President Ruto to come and create full employment in this country, and he can do it. He can do it because the goodwill is there. But the side shows might not make us achieve what we need. For example, if you say I'm going to US, I'm going to China, Europe also there, they look at you, they say, this guy doesn't have a stand. So nobody assists you. When Uhuru was there, the stand was towards the east, China, Japan, and you saw this year, you saw the things come, despite the challenges, but it came. US is a great economy, but they are more inward, they're more concerned with the issue than us. You see, imagine our head of state supposed to visit them, they've agreed, then the last minute they said you shouldn't address them. You know, they're not concerned about us the way we think. Now, on trade, there's something called a trade literature called gravity of trade.
Yes.
Theory of gravity. Let me explain this slowly. Theory of gravity means here, you and Barnabas, is that when I'm closer to you, we trade better than when I'm away. Statistically, Kenya trades better with Uganda, Tanzania, and much of Europe because of colonial relationship. US is far. For US, their major trading partners are Canada and Mexico. So to them, they look at us for strategic purposes. They look at us to give them people to take to Haiti, which is not, an America will not allow an American to go and die in another country. You saw even in Gaza that they don't want the people to die. But you are taking 1,000 persons to go and get killed. And then, still on that one, as a civil society in this country, we have a constitution, which all of us read and it was passed. Some it was read for us, but it's the constitution. After constitution, there are certain laws, acts of parliament, which come up. And there is something called common law. Common law is not written, but fairness. For example, now the way we are talking, you give Barnabas a chance first, then me and you follow. That's common law. That is an order. Or queuing, it's a small. Normal law queuing in a bank, when I go to the bank, is a common law. Now we also have a common law: do not kill, do not send somebody to be killed. And what money are you going to get? What compensation is there? Is it worth it? And if the parliament says it's not the right direction to go, are we a civil society or are we just behaving the way we want? So those issues, and Americans also look at us They're using us toward their benefit. Any relationship, if somebody's using for his benefit, you also try to gain. Look at what we want. Biggest problem in this country is employment with the youth. We've got graduates, people have got degrees, roasting mates. It does not mean that they have to go to the offices, but bring us the revenue, set up companies so that we get the best out of our people. But if we don't do that, we're standing here halfway. At the end of the day, we might not achieve much. That's my view, generally.
Yeah, we saw, in terms of when there is quite an interesting perspective that we saw, or rather a gathering about, some of the states, of course, the president is going to visit. We're looking at his interest in arts, say the meeting with Tyler Perry, that is, a film producer. Looking at such perspectives, do you think it is also important to look at those ties? Because we've mainly focused on, what you were talking about, exports, mining, the macros, but also this is a field that is an inroad and a part of interest, especially for this government. What do you make about the interest in exploring the arts as well?
Me? Or ask me?
Yeah, yes, that's for you, yes.
In terms of arts, you see that talk of film now, film production has changed.
Yes.
The world, you see TikTok, you see Facebook, you see all sorts of things. China, it's different from the old days of film. You agree? Nigeria came up with those films that were very popular and carried the day. In our scenario, recently I attended the drama festival of our children. They do very good plays.
Yes.
That when it's well filmed, put in for media the way we are, what you're seeing now, the whole world. We have our stories to make. From my place, of course, my side, I've written a book of Rocklands, stories about Gor Mahia, Londa Magere. It can be a story. It comes out a film. Netflix wants to do it, and you do it locally here. But the Americans will not be concerned about it. They want the cowboy thing, the man running, eating the blacks, nigger, that kind of thing. They're not out.
Yeah, Boyd, do you have any, perhaps response to Bona Felix Okach?
No, one of the things that which I think is important for Kenyans to know is that much as we want to be a player in the community of nations, we must be aware that all of us need to up our game. We need to be competitive. We need to be, do what other people have done. America was at some point after the Civil War, just like Kenya. Likewise to China, likewise to Korea and other countries. Even Dubai, we have stories of Dubai being a desert, but look at what it is now. So the best thing is, what is good in Kenya? What is the best thing that we can offer to the world? And we can give value and have and get value for what we are bringing to the world. For example, our athletes are the best in the world. We need to have the best scholars, the best hospitals. Some years back, our medical care was the best, but now most people are going to India because of medical tourism. People go to India for treatment. It was not like that a few years ago. So we need to really calibrate and see what we need to do as a country. We support the current administration in pursuit of excellence, in pursuit of what is important for the country. Yes. But I think as citizens, we need to realize that it is important that we put our best foot forward and achieve as a country. Yeah.
Do you think that, looking at the perspective of where we are coming from, embarking on this state visit, do you think that the optics, as you could call it, coming from the flood situation and how the situation has been handled, it would be a major point of concern, and how the government has performed? How would you rate, and what has happened, whereas it is a calamity, and then embarking on this, because there have been concerns of those saying that, let's sort our issues first here, then embark on these other international assignments. Whereas this has been a planned trip, what would you have to respond to, such comments and such?
I mean, that is trivial, because you don't expect the president to stop the floods. I mean, there are other issues we can progress as a country. We have institutions that deal with disaster management. we have the ministries concerned, like the infrastructure. They can still work on, rehabilitation and making those infrastructural repairs. It doesn't need the president to be around. Kenya cannot stop because, and these calamities were everywhere. Dubai had floods, America there were tornadoes, and they cannot stop what they are doing just because something happened. Those are things, and naturally, next there can be drought. Next there can be other things which we need to handle as a country. But we have institutions in Kenya that deal with such issues. I don't know that school of thought or what people wanted to say, but the most important aspect is that each day is important for our country. Each day is important that we do the right thing. And even from all those tasks with the responsibility of making sure that there is public safety. Yeah.
Brilliant. Felix, I could see you smiling. Yes.
Like Barnabas was saying, that you see the president can still go and handle issues in our country. So as Barnabas was saying that, I was just thinking, one time, remember, Samia Suluhu, the president of Tanzania, I think she was in a meeting in Addis Ababa, and then there was a flood in Serengeti. She cut the meeting short and went back to Serengeti. There was something like that. But let me come to what you're saying. Now, let me come to the issue. This is our country, and we need to do the best out of it.
Yes.
And we need to solve our problems, because our problem in any part of the country is all of us. It's our home. There's nowhere to go. You have to build it. So, since it's our home, let us make sure that whatever we're going to do outside must benefit us more than the outsider.
Yes. Absolutely. Before, perhaps, we think we are due for a short break, but even as we go through some of the issues that we're seeing, just to let you know is that President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden will host President William Ruto and First Lady Rachel Ruto for that state visit later this month in just about 10 days, and that is forming the basis of our conversation tonight. My guest, Felix Okach, a multilateral trade expert, as well as Barnabas Boit, a political advisor and strategist. We are taking a short break. We're back in a few minutes with more. Do stay with us.
In a world where challenges are as common as opportunities, there are those who dare to defy the odds. They are the entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business, it's about embracing uncertainty, pushing boundaries, and turning dreams into reality.
Hata ambao ni pesa ya kusave, wallahi. Ambao mwaka ni pesa nyingi sana.
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
The way we run the business is in a very unforgiving way, where every team member has to bring out their best.
So, to all the dreamers, innovators, and risk takers out there, remember, being an entrepreneur isn't just a job, it's a way of life. Join the journey. Become an entrepreneur. The Grind, Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Here on Beyond the Limit, we celebrate the extraordinary achievements of individuals who redefine possibilities. In a journey of resilience and determination, these individuals demonstrate that limitations are merely stepping stones to greatness.
I'm Nancy Njoroge, a mother of 3. I have 2 girls and a boy, who is Clinton, and who is autistic.
When my heart got healed, I decided to come out to be creating CP awareness, to let other people know that there is such a condition, and people that has it is not that they are witches.
Together, let's go beyond the limit every Saturday at 8 p.m.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Wazazi wangu walikuwa bit strict kwa sababu mamangu mwenyewe, mimi kutoka kuzaliwa sijailala nje.
The white small one, huyo ana sniff gunpowder na
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're watching The Daily Report as we analyze and look at the Kenya-US ties with my guests tonight, Felix Okach, a multilateral trade expert, as well as Barnabas Boit, a political strategist and advisor. Among the perhaps lessons that Kenya can take, especially from the US, of course we understand that's where our constitution is borrowed from. Do you think that even as these two countries mark the 60th anniversary of the US-Kenya diplomatic relations, we seem to have learned, or we seem to have adopted political hygiene? It is considered the free world, but do you think as a country, Boit, that democratically we have evolved to levels that a 60th anniversary would envision?
Thank you for that question. I think from where I sit, and we still have a long way to go as a country. We may have achieved some of the milestones, like we can run our elections fairly, and the person who has won the election is declared a winner. But that does not stop the fact that there are people who still live in the past, and you know, like the difficult that happened in the bombers of Kenya, where people wanted to overturn an election. But at 60, where are we? We still have grinding poverty. We still have illiteracy. We still have, we are not where we are supposed to be as a country. We have youth unemployment, which is a time bomb, and our industries have failed, and we have been a net importer now of almost like everything, even food items, which we grow, and it's a sad reality. Case in point is how we recently mismanaged the fertilizer subsidy, and to a level that our own farmers could not get quality fertilizer for their farms. So at 60, we are not where we're supposed to be. There are challenges. What should we do about the challenges? We must surmount those challenges and make sure that we move ahead as a country. Is the president doing the right thing? Yes. What is required is everybody to play their part. Those given positions of power to assist the president in running the affairs of the state must up their game and do what is right for the people of Kenya. But even if we celebrate our relationship with the US and we don't put an effort to produce quality items that can be brought in the American market, then it will be a one-way relationship where we import most things from America. We should really upscale our manufacturing to match the rest of the country, so that much as we buy from other people, we also sell what they cannot produce. Yeah.
When you look at also the other issue of the fight against corruption, it is a funny issue, and it is an issue that of course the US takes has a clear stand on it. Kenya also has a clear stand on it. And when you look at the fight against it, because also it is among the issues, or rather the things that have to be celebrated or looked upon when you look at the diplomatic ties between the two countries, do you think as a country we are at a place where we are, this menace, this vice is being fought with, or rather fought with the intensity that it requires or it deserves, considering even the occasions or the recent events that we've seen?
That's why I'm saying we have teething challenges which we have to deal as a country. Okay. And much as we want to blame the people in power and the politicians, we also blame those who vote for them. Because corruption will not help Kenya. Corruption is what gives us all these failures as a country. Corruption, when it permeates in a society, it results to all problems, from exam cheating to people with fraudulent papers being employed in government. And I mean, the results you can tell for yourselves. So what is important is, on the fight against corruption, I don't think we've made much progress. There may be intention, but we are yet to see people heads rolling. You may be privy of some information and people who have stolen public funds, but they're still enjoying their freedoms. They're still enjoying the same wealth that they stole from the people of Kenya. So until we recover those loots and we have the big people jailed, and so that it is a deterrent that nobody should engage in corrupt practice. If corruption is still rewarding, we have nowhere to go. Because case in point is, most people who are rich in Kenya, maybe one way or another, have connection in government. It's not that they are free business people. Politicians elected when they are very poor. After 5 years, they are very rich. They don't own any industry. They don't do any business. But they have a lot of money, which are not accounted for, and nobody asks questions about them. And our people laugh. The citizens love people with money. They don't care how that money was obtained. That is a problem. That's a challenge that we need to. Our people should elect good leaders. They should not elect people because they've given them money.
Another aspect, of the state visit and agenda is, to advance the peace and security efforts between the two countries. And in looking at how Kenya has dealt with peace and security in the past, the country had fallen victim to several terrorist attacks that has gone down. But in the recent past also, you've seen, cases, especially in the Lamu counties in the northeastern region. Do you think that in terms of the ties between the two countries, the advisories that keep coming, or we see coming from the Embassy of the United States, it still depicts a situation where our security situation is not still at par? What are some of the lessons that perhaps this state visit should President William Ruto be seeking to advance to ensure that that front is also well secured?
The sad reality is that to protect Kenya is squarely on the hands of the Kenyan people through the established mechanism like the KDF, the police, the intelligence. The only cooperation we can have with the US in which we can enhance in this visit is, military assistance in terms of weapons, in terms of intelligence gathering, in terms of the modernization of our military and the police. But the actual involvement and providing security for our people squarely is on the arms of government that are responsible. Now, America has every right to issue the travel advisory if it feels that its citizens are not safe. And for our viewers, America cares more about its citizens more than any other person. So in instances where they feel their citizens are not safe, they will issue those travel advisories. And it's not only limited to Kenya, it's also to all other countries in the world. And my thinking is that we should do more, and our security forces should do more to secure our borders and make Kenya safe. These advisories were not there before because at least we had a robust intelligence system that would nab terrorists even when they are planning to do some attacks in Kenya. I remember during times of Brigadier Boynet, terrorists would be nabbed even when they are still in Syria before they even launch any attack in Kenya. So we need to have a robust intelligence system that can detect and prevent these issues. And then there was an issue of our border with the Somali, which needs to actually be well taken care of. The previous administration has tried to do some fencing, which stalled on the way, but at least we should have, a way of checking the border as to who comes to Kenya, and just have an exit point, enter an exit point for all people, so that proper screening is done. Otherwise, we risk having, terrorists coming in and carrying their own attacks and running back to Somalia.
Yeah, President William Ruto has really been keen, and we've seen that he has implemented the visa-free Kenya. Do you think that perhaps that could be, among the discussions, because the visa was extended for 5 years for Kenyan citizens to the United States. Kenya is visa-free on the other hand. How do you look at advancing that symbiotic relationships of access to other countries, especially for Kenya?
Anything that benefits our people, we would support. If you are given 5-year visa, you are able to study or conduct business in the US, that would be in the best interest of the Kenyans, people who have interest in the US. But also there are Kenyans who have no interest of going to US, and that one may not be beneficial to them. So while we appreciate, as we want business, we want opportunities, we want more American tourists coming to Kenya, we want more opportunities for our Kenyan people in the US. Those are the things that we anticipate will come out of the meeting. And it's our best prayer that we benefit from this state visit.
How about labor exploitation, Boyd? The president has also spoken about exporting labor. Some have criticized and opined that it is a different shift from creation of jobs. But on the other side, there is also the discussion of creation of jobs can also be exploitation of labor. When you look at the relationship, especially for Kenyans and opportunities, when you talk about business, do you think that it has advanced over the years, even as this 60th anniversary comes up?
It's very interesting because long when I was in school, there was something that said an exponential increase in population puts pressure on natural resources, like land, forest, water, and all that. So when our population increased exponentially, we have had a large number of young people that the current economic setup cannot cater for all of them. It is a temporary option. What is the long-term solution? Is for people to have children they can afford, not having one guy producing 12, 15 children. Kenya is not increasing in size, it is reducing. I mean, the resources, the many people we are giving birth to will scramble for the same resources, which have been there from existence.
Yes.
Case in point is my great-great-grandfather had around 3,000 acres. It's not the case for his descendants now. So it is a question of how do we make sure that we create opportunities for our own people. Remember, there was even a problem of population in India and China, that even they had to come with a one-child policy, that you have to have one child. So we don't want to reach that situation, but government policy was that you have children you can manage. But our politicians are encouraging more children because of votes. So we have to take a call as Kenyans and say, we need what is right. We need what is right.
Yeah, Felix, I can see you laughing. Perhaps you can react to what Boyd has spoken about.
I like when I was saying that more children for more votes. But you see, one of us, what's the difficult thing is that, to bring up a child, there's the 9 months, there's 21, 18 years before you can vote, by that time you're dead. Anyway, that's with a light touch. On a serious note,
yes,
there are many ways you can create employment in an economy. I'll just say off the cuff. Let me give an example.
Yes.
And normally these things are done with a bang. If it takes time, it will not succeed with a bang. Remember when President Kibaki came in with a bang, free primary education, children were in schools. The classrooms are full, but they were in schools. Now the challenge we have children in schools, but the teachers are few, one teacher to 70 pupils. So the quality of education is compromised. But it's not that we don't have teachers. We have a lot of trained teachers, but we are not engaging them. Now the big bang would be this. In the civil service, the majority of employees are teachers, over 600,000 teachers. The other 200,000 are civil servants. And the teachers are not enough. A big bang theory increasing the number of teachers by 200,000 or 300,000, so that is every classroom, for purposes of quality, is 1 teacher to 30. It's unimaginable, but it can work. Now, next question, I know Barnabas and George about asking, George just asking me, where is the money? When you have more people in employment, there's a tax base.
Yes.
They are consuming the VAT. They are the fellows who also do their farming. Because farming, you need some small money to do the farming. And the multiply effect can be massive. Modern ways of developing economy is not using the old Keynesian ways, which I see our policymakers using quoting Keynesian somewhere. So that's the economics of those days, because it was after the war. But in our case, you got a specific problem. And I think I said when I was starting to speak, that you got youth at 60, 70%, and educated. They've gone to school. We saw the other day there were doctors in the street. Those are immaterial, and put them in the streets. Make sure that all these youth are put in engaged full employment. And there are many scenarios. For example, take the EPZ, where we're exporting apparel to Europe, USA. It's the main man with many exports. And they want more from us. And you're just using only the one at the river here. If you had 1,000 of those ones, it would absorb the labor, would export more. I'm just giving 2 examples, bank fuel. And that's what the new president will come in immediately with. That this is what I'm doing. The 30 days you're starting, I'm moving ahead. But if you take time, it doesn't move. You see where we are? No, here and there, doing this. It's a problem. Mari go to the east, Mari go to the west. No. A state visit is a normal thing. We should not raise eyebrows. You see what other Americans are playing. You should say, okay, if you're doing this way, let me not go. I'll come next time, because visits are always there. But all in all, this is our country, Georgia and Barnabas. It is us to sit down and say, first, diagnose our problem. What are the main problems? It's not the visits, it's not the family, it's the employment. And the employment of these fellows will even make us not import rice. We've been going to import maize. You see the scandals on fertilizer now. Next season, the effect of it is that you are going to import maize. And maize from where? From Mexico and America. And when you import maize from those places, you are creating employment in those places, not in our place. So it's us to reorient ourselves. But this is a great country, we have resources, and we can do it. That's what I can say for the time.
I can see Barnabas nodding at whatever you're saying, but on the other flip side, or another perspective you need to look at, Felix, is the issue of, as I was finding out from Boit earlier on, the Republic of Kenya, President William Ruto has said it is visa-free. When you look at the opportunities that lie therein, especially also for Kenyans in the United States and also trading, what do you portend, or how does that especially enhance trade, or rather where does that leave Kenya as a trade partner for other countries?
Normally when I'm visiting a country as a tourist,
yes,
I've saved money.
Yeah.
I know the hotel I'm going to, which is whatever it is, I go to that country. Visa prospect is immaterial. 4,000-5,000 is immaterial. It's not the main thing which makes somebody visit a country. Which means we are looking at the small things instead of the big things. Because if you want 10,000 tourists to come from US, go and tell them, but they'll tell this is not the main thing. We want good hotel, good security, Mara Safari, and see the Fort Jesus. Those are things they want to see. See Africans out there doing. That's what they need. So visa is not an issue. You see, when you come to visa, you see, even like now, passport. The other day, the president was saying that, okay, our Kenyans will go and work outside. But the passports are not there, brother. I don't know what you're talking. Let's look at our country. The main things we need small things, and we'll do better. So I'm just emphasizing we're a great country. if we look at the right thing required. For the time being, visa is neither here nor there. And when you say visa, you mean it's not paying? And if it's not paying, is that revenue, government revenue? The other day they were complaining that they're paying. And visa, in terms of trade arrangements, is a security issue. Like when you talk of trade in goods and services, there was what you call tariff. But visa is security in the sense that you can be in Kenya, you want to go to US, but they can refuse a visa to enter that country. That's what visa is. It's not the cost. So let's look at the big things that will improve this great country of ours.
So then let's look at the...
come in. Okay, may me just respond by saying that I think we have a problem with our policy makers.
Yes.
Because look at the backlog of employing teachers who are already trained. I mean, the ministry knows how many teachers are retiring, how many teachers are leaving service, what is the number of schools. I mean, we can plan ahead and say, let us just train enough teachers who will not just stay at home, like having a huge backlog. Like how many teachers would be needed for public and private schools, and how many are retiring, what is the enrollment per year, what is the number of, additional teachers that we would have. And let's have our young people trained on what is needed. How many doctors do we need? So that you give children opportunities and they can actually learn knowing that they will match what is in the market. But then now you train thousands of teachers, and then the absorption is, like 50%. So we have 50% people who are trained for a specific skill, but they are not getting those opportunities. So as policymakers, people in government also are failed Kenyans, because those are the people who should be telling universities on how many people should be trained as teachers, as doctors, as engineers, so that we calibrate, everything, and have people doing the right skills. For example, there may be an acute shortage of plumbers or electricians. Young people can take those technical courses and earn a living. Now, we need to be serious as a country. Much as we support our administration, we go to the US, let's get what we will get from the US, but the ultimate intention is that we should, as a country, put our house in order, do the right things, and move Kenya forward. And it is a collective effort of every Kenyan, irrespective of whether in the media, whether in the academia, whether in the public service. As ordinary people, we must be responsible in the manner in which we live as a country. And then the underlying thing is that have children you are able to educate and take care of. You don't have to produce 20 children if you have no means of surviving. And then you say that, the world will take care of those children. Nothing like that. You have to pay for their education. You have to take care of them until they are of age that they can take care of themselves. So, and it is not rocket science. Let's have people like Germany, like the example of Germany is that the population of young people and the older people is same. Meaning those who are retiring from work, those who are, the young people are coming to take over those jobs.
Yes.
But now we have less opportunities for a large population of young people. I don't think it's a good policy that we export our people. It is not, because also it will mean that the best brains will leave the country for other opportunities, instead of us using those brains to build our own country.
Yeah, gentlemen, let's wrap this up. Even as you come to respond, Felix, what would you like to see as a take-home from this state visit? We've talked about the economic ties, but what perhaps would you like to see that after this state visit next week, rather the week after, you'll be able to say this and this indeed was achieved?
George, the state visits are good things. It happens all over the world. And normally those visits are to benefit the country which is visiting and have a relationship with the host country. Things like climate change, things like trade, things like investment, memorandum of understanding, businessmen coming together. The state visits are good. And they'll continue, but it's important. Yeah, it's important that they're used for purpose of benchmarking, so that when somebody lives there and goes to Texas or Dallas or San Bernardino and see the streets are clean, the people are orderly, can you bring that sense of order here? rather than just coming that I visited came back. Or if you go to some country for trade negotiations, don't just go drink beer and come and say, it's a good place, I drank and enjoyed. No. Learn what's from there and bring here. Places like Singapore, this housing project we are doing here, in Singapore, those are the houses they have in Singapore. But then they started doing it the way it was there, upgrading slabs. You start with one sector and you move on as people move on in a steadily way and eventually achieve it. All in all, the state visits are good. This is our country. We need to tell the policymakers to sit together and advise properly. For example, we come to advise on tax measure.
Yes.
Don't say, I want to increase the tax. Say, what do I want to do? What is the policy I want to achieve by this? So that the tax measure does not create inflation or reduce the purchasing power. So the policymakers should be able to advise that, okay, this is what we are doing from government perspective, pending bills, which are billions of shillings, pay the pending bills. Once the pending bills are in the economy, that's money is in the country, the plumbers, engineers will come back and do more jobs, and the money circulates. But it's all management of the economy. But otherwise, it's a great country. That's what I can say. And I wish all of us the best. I like Barnabas' ideas and yours. We need to build our country.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Felix. You get the last word, Boyd.
It is my wish that from the President's visit, we get opportunities for our people. I mean, for businesses to grow, for investments to grow, for cooperation between the US and Kenya, and that we stand to benefit if we utilize this opportunity of a state visit and to like put our best foot forward and advance our interest as a country, and also to increase our geopolitical influence in the region, as a leader in the region.
Brilliant. Thank you so much indeed. I've been speaking to Felix Okach, ABS. He is a multilateral trade expert. Thank you, Felix, for joining us in the program.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant, as well as Barnabas Boit. He's been here in studio. He's a political strategist and advisor. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the program. I am George Maringa, wishing you a good night from Nairobi. I'll see you tomorrow on the People's Court.
Thank you.